Good morning, Card Meetings RJ. It is Sunday, so it is time for the Sunday Trivia Recap. All right, everybody. Hope you all had a great week. But we're not here to talk about the past. We're here to talk about today, to go through some interesting trivia questions, and to give away some fantastic prizes, all right? So let's start with Monday's question. Monday's question: in what year did Major League Baseball finally arrive at 4 balls equals a walk? Because it had been in various number of balls over the years, but eventually in this year it was finally reduced to 4, and it has been that way ever since. What is the answer? A lot of throwing on that one. The answer, go to Wikipedia. Right down here, in 1889, the National League and the American Association decreased the number of balls required for a walk to 4. That has been the number ever since. So, what you're playing for 3 awesome cards from the 1983 Donruss All-Stars card set: Carlton Fisk, Gary Carter, and Mike Schmidt. So 3 awesome Hall of Fame cards. That's what you're playing for. Back to the wheel. The indigos up here on the screen were kind enough to throw out a guess. There is one newbie this week. He did not provide a channel, so I will reach out to shout out to Robert Pipenbrock. I do not know, other than that name, if he has a channel, but Mr. Pipenbrock, I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but that's what I'm going to guess. So Robert, if you have a channel, please let me know, because I like to put the channels on the list up here. Everybody else up here is a regular. Lisa Z's name remains on the list. Again, Lisa Z was a great supporter of my channel, as well as everybody else in the card community. She passed away very early this calendar year. I have chosen to keep her name on the list this entire calendar year as my way to honor her. Her box is not checked over here, which means her name does not appear on the list, on the wheel, I mean. So that's how I chose to do that. We will shuffle once and spin. You must hit 3 times on my channel to win. I do that for 2 reasons. One is because not a lot of people enter my contest, and I can. And 2, because I always hate it when you enter a contest, they spin the wheel, and whoever's name comes up gets it, and everybody else is kind of left sad with no shot to win. But since I only have like 12 to 15 people a day entering my contest, I have the ability to go 3 times, whereas most people do not, because you can't do 3 times and win if you get like 50 people on your wheel, But I don't have that problem, so I choose to, and that's the way I do it. So we have shuffled once, we will spin. Good luck to everybody on this one. So it's funny, I was starting to think about, okay, what am I going to show off this week? And I realized I'm kind of running out of things to show. Not that I don't have a lot of things in my collection to show. I just think there's certain things that are interesting to show and certain things that are not that interesting to show. So I don't, I'm not showing off every single box set I have. That'd be ridiculous. Nobody else would care. But I was trying to figure out something. I had spoken about this in a couple other videos. I think I speak about this in next week's videos, but recently I had to spend a good chunk of my savings on buying my daughter a car. She needed a car. She's graduated and is living in the workforce, and she needed a vehicle to get back and forth to work, so I had to help her out, shell out a couple bucks out of my savings to get her a car. And that simply means now I don't have a certain amount of budget. Pause. That is 3 for Eric over at the Card Closet. Congrats to you, sir. You'll be getting these 3 awesome Hall of Fame cards. Send those out shortly. We are moving on to Wednesday's question. On Wednesday, the question was, in 1876, the modern National League was officially formed, and the National League has existed since 1876. There were 8 teams in the original league. Of those 8 teams, 6 are still active franchises in some form. Now, I shouldn't say that. Let me take that back, because franchises come and go a lot. But what I really want to say is, of the original 8 teams and the cities in which teams were placed, there were 6 cities that still host a major league team. There were 2 cities in the original iteration of the National League in 1876 that no longer have a franchise in Major League Baseball. I said, name those 2 cities. The answer, Hartford, Connecticut, was one of them. The Hartford Dark Blues. Hartford, I suppose, was a fairly well-populated city, comparatively speaking, back in 1876. It was a bit of a financial hub, but Hartford was your first answer. The second answer, Louisville, Kentucky. The Louisville Grays. I always love these bib overall uniforms. So Hartford and Louisville are 2 teams that were in the National League originally, 2 cities that are no longer present. And like always, the individuals up here on the screen were kind enough to throw a guess. Card Closet, you are out. You can only win once a week on my channel. Everybody else is a returning customer. Again, shout out to Robert Pipenbrock. Welcome aboard. But everybody else has been here before. We will shuffle once and spin. Good luck to everybody on that one. So again, I had to buy my daughter a car. She's graduated. She needs a car to get back and forth from work to work. So I did my daddy thing and I got her a car. But again, I took a hit on my card collecting budget for this month, or for the rest of the year, to be quite honest with you, with that kind of price. So it'll be few and far between me showing new pickups. Anyway, but I did have a good idea of something interesting to show. So there will be great content, and of course there'll always be the trivia and prizes to talk about. So do check that out. It is playoff season in the baseball world. I know a lot of you have likely switched your interest to football because not everybody makes the playoffs. And some of you are really gearing up to basketball and hockey. I don't suffer from those delusions because I'm really a baseball-only fan. I really don't put a lot of my sports interest in other sports. I will watch the Eagles games occasionally. I will check in once in a while, but it is not something I do the whole season. But certainly baseball, I'll be avidly watching the entire postseason. Pause. Michael Pusatier, congrats to you, sir. Forgot to show the 3 cards you were playing for, but you got your Pete Rose, Dave Winfield, and Raleigh Fingers. Of those 3, Michael's been winning regularly. So congrats to you, Michael. I once asked people if I should limit it to once a month because it seemed to be like there were a lot of people winning weekly. But a lot of people wrote back and say, no, don't limit it to once a month. It's fine. And even some of those people were people who didn't win too often. So listening to the masses, I'll keep it going at once a week is the limit. So going on to Friday's question. I had shown off a new pickup of my Kyle Schwarber hitting his 4 home runs, my new Topps Now item, and I had shown off as my random Mike Schmidt item a card celebrating his 4 home run day. And my question to you was, who was the very first player to ever hit 4 home runs in a game? The answer, 1800s era star named Bobby Lowe. Here is his old Judge card. Bobby Lowe is the man's name. You can see obviously here he's with Milwaukee of the Western Association in this early picture. But he was a Major League star, and one day he legged out 4 home runs in a game. That was your answer. Again, the individuals up here on the screen are kind enough to throw out a guess We will remove Michael Pusatier, and we will remove the card closet. Everybody else will shuffle once and spin. Good luck to everybody. So the Phillies got a bye in the first round, along with the Brewers over the National League. Haven't been paying much attention to the American League because I really don't care until the World Series, what happens there. I'm all in on trying to hope the Phillies get to the World Series again. The Phillies has disappointed their fans the last few years. They fell to the Astros back in 2022. That's not surprising. The Astros were a better team. The Phillies were the 6th seed and limped in there. Did we already get 3 for Barry Berry? Did we already get 3 for Barry Berry? No, we didn't. Oh, I thought we did. Anyway, they lost in 2022 to the World Series champion Astros. Not surprising. In 2023, they lost to the Diamondbacks in the NLCS. That was shocking. We had 2 at home, and we couldn't win 1 of the 2 games in our own park. That should never happen in a Phillies franchise. That just is wrong. But that's what happened. And then last year, the Mets were on fire. And I'll tell you this, I walked into that game in 2024. It was the division round, and I knew, most fans in Philadelphia knew they were going to lose that series. We were playing terrible at the time, absolutely terrible. The Mets were on fire. They couldn't lose, so they just knocked us out real quick. It was sad. This year, though, there's a different vibe. I'm very hopeful. Oh, pause. 3 for Alan, grade-worthy. Congrats to you, sir. Once again, I forgot to show what we're playing for, but again, it's 3 cards, Carew, Brett, and Suter of the Donruss All-Stars, so that's what you're going to get. Congrats to you, sir. That's everything. Go Phils. Come back this coming week for more great trivia and prizes and to see a couple vintage cards, all right? That's all I have for you. Have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.